Welcome to Kepster ADV, the channel dedicated to riding, adventure, and life's journey, which is always best made on a motorcycle. My name is Kep, and today I'm coming to you from just inside the gates of the abandoned George Air Force Base in the Mojave Desert near Victorville, California. The base began in 1941. It was a training facility for pilots who saw action during the Korean War and even during World War II. In 1988, there was a decision made to decommission the base, and by 1992, the base was abandoned. The buildings are still standing, and they're all in various levels of disrepair. I'm going to take you for a little ride around the base today and see what we can see. There's a lot of areas that are marked as no trespassing, so I'm going to have to stay to the main roads, but we'll see what we can find. When the base was still in use by the Air Force, it was essentially a small city of its own. There were 250 buildings there, and those buildings served all the needs of the 4,000 enlisted and employees that were on the base. There was homes, barracks, stores, clubs, and shops for different trades. There was even schools for the children. Today, many of the buildings are gone, but others still stand. The construction of the base was meant to be temporary, so the buildings really weren't built to last. Many of them deteriorated and were ultimately torn down. The city of Victorville had plans to use the base as a rail yard, but these plans have been put on indefinite hold after the discovery of the soil and the groundwater being contaminated with jet fuel, heavy metals, and other chemicals. And the cost of the cleanup would be most likely astronomical. It was interesting taking a ride around the base and having a look. But all in all, the base was pretty lifeless. It wasn't as creepy or foreboding as I'd kind of hoped it would be. I suppose coming here at night or being able to explore some of the buildings would have made it a little more interesting. There's always so much I could see at George Air Force Base, with the majority of the base being off limits. This prevented me from entering any of the buildings, so I headed over to Calico Ghost Town outside of Barstow, California. Calico is a real ghost town, but it's been converted to a tourist attraction, so I didn't do any filming there. Most of the old buildings that you walk by have been converted to turquoise jewelry shops or candy stores, so I headed over to the Badlands north of the town. I entered the OHV area on a trail called Mule Canyon Trail. Now this trail winds up through the Badlands, and it has a bunch of offshoots, and I'd actually been out there before in my old Land Rover. Most of the terrain that I was on was hard-packed and rocky, and I spent more time picking lines around rocks and ruts than slogging through the deep sand, although there was some sand in some spots. Riding in deep sand has been a bit of a challenge for me on the GS, and I've kind of figured out that in order to ride successfully in the sand, I have to keep my speed up. In this area with some of the rocks and the unpredictable ruts, I found myself going a little slower where I had a little less control in the sand, and it caught up with me at one point, as you saw at the beginning of the video. The terrain here was really interesting though. It was almost like riding on the surface of the moon or on Mars or something. And it's a set of trails I would highly recommend, and I'll definitely be out there again on my GS. Thank you for watching the second episode of Kepster ADV. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe below. And if you would like to offer any suggestions of any places I should check out, you can hit me up at kepsteradv.com or by email at kepster@kepsteradv.com.